I like to think that there's three really high levels to mindset, that being like, a poor person's mindset, a middle class mindset, and a rich person's mindset. And we could also call that taking, doing, being. Starting with a poor, I'm not going to spend much time here, I don't really want to give it much light, but a poor person's mindset is that of a taker. Usually they feel like they're lacking something and that there's scarce resources, and if that they can just take, then they can have, and then they can do whatever they want to do. Only if I could win the lottery, I could do what I want to do, Only if somebody would give me, rich people give me money, only if they paid more taxes, all this nonsense, right? And like I said, this is all relative. That's a poor person's mindset, and a very, 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 very high level. I could spend all day going into the nuances. I don't think that's necessary. A middle class person's mindset is doing. The more I can do, then I'll be okay. The more I can work, I want to work overtime. I want to do 60, 70-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks. Let me just grind it to the floor, right? Let me just do. Let me get another degree and another degree. Let me get a master's, triple PhD, like whatever, right? Which is fine if you want to be a doctor or cool or whatever else. But I'm talking to the people like me who want to be giga successful, and so like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on those mindsets. I'm going to spend more time on the rich person's mindset, which also is relative, right? The rich person is in a being state of mind, and so rather than reacting to circumstances, he starts something, he doesn't get immediate results, so he quits. Rather than doing that, which is like maybe the middle class's mindset, what a rich person understands is that as long as you can have a clear vision of what you want, and you just move towards it, you're going to get it, and you believe you can do it, right? All you need to do is have the end goal in mind. You don't need to worry about how you're going to get there. That doesn't even matter. And so a rich person is being. This is why rich people spend so much time reading, because they want to embody the characteristics of the thing, the person that they're trying to become, the person who has what it is they want. They want to read and gain information on that, so they can adopt their level of thinking, they can adopt their state of mind and become that. I've been reading a book a day for like 2 weeks now, maybe. So I've just been reading non-stop so I can just endow my mind with different perspectives of people who I want to be like. So I've read all kinds of different books. One of my goals this year was to read 100 books. I'm going to do that easily. So I'm going to read 100 books this year easily, right? Whether that be House of Morgan by Ron Chernow, Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson, Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi, Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, like whatever the book is, right? I'm just reading loads of different books just to solidify my being mindset, so I know exactly who it is, who I need to become, and so I can just, adopt it. Also, I want to be a well-rounded person. I think, rich people, I can't even say that. It feels ignorant when I say that. What my idea of rich is somebody who is well-rounded, somebody, who knows a lot about everything. They know what it is they want. They have answers to all the questions what are in their mind. They have a philosophy. They have principles that they base their life off, and that's how I want to live. And so that's why I've made a commitment to education, because obviously I didn't go to university or college for the US people. I didn't do any of that nonsense. Sorry, I'm being ignorant again, but I didn't do any of that because I understood like it wasn't going to happen. And at the same time, my mindset was a little bit more limited when it came to making that decision. It wasn't as well thought out as it is now, but I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad I didn't do all of that. And maybe in the future I might, just for the irony of it, right? But I don't know. I feel like all the information I've consumed in books, like I've read like 55 books this year so far. I feel like everything I've learned in these different books is probably more than what I could ever get from that. Like my girlfriend right now, she is at uni, and I get to see how she's going about uni and what she's doing, and I just look at that and just think, man, that is not it. That is not it for me. It's not it for me, right? Like I wouldn't see any benefit in doing that. And also, it seems like a lot of work going to uni. Like, so much different work. They got assignments every other day. Like, it's just insane, right? Versus, like, I don't know, figuring out how to do sales and figuring out, how to book appointments and how to close appointments. And then all of a sudden, you've got a 50 grand a month agency versus doing all that work for 4 years. This is going back to the doing paradigm, to go out and get a job where you're going to get paid either the same or less than what you could get working at Amazon with 0 credentials. Like, the people who work at Amazon don't even speak English, even though that's a requirement. Like, they've found a way to get the job without even having to speak English. These guys, if they're to do a 50-hour week, are going to get paid more than the guys who have went through all that strife in uni for 4 years. Maybe the environment's more pleasant, what they're working to get less of a pay after uni. Maybe the environment's more pleasant. You get to be around people who speak English or whatever else. But to me, that seems crazy, right? Like, I can't get my head around it, you know, rather than just becoming, like, back to the idea of being rich. I said to myself at the start of this year, okay, no more messing around, because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? And so I said, no more messing around, let me just figure it out. And, you know, what I've realized is the whole idea of manifestation is just having a picture of who you need to become to get the, you know, the physical component what you want. Who do you need to become? And then just adopting the characteristics or just learning the characteristics. And so I understood, if I want to make 100,000 this year and have £100,000 net worth from £30,000 net worth, and by the way, it's less than 30,000 right now because I've done quite a bit of investing into myself. But to make that jump without a job, I'm gonna need to start a business, right? That's obvious. And so, okay, what business model? I've decided the best business model is one that cash flows and that I don't need to put too much investment in, and then there's not too much risk. And so I decided to kind of play it safe and do an agency. And then I'm like, okay, what is the components of a successful agency owner? All a successful agency really is just a sales organization. We take this one product, or we take this one service, productize it and sell it to the prospect. That's all it is just sales. And so it's sales to get the meeting, because you got to get the prospects on a meeting, and then you sell them the service, and then you close them on the meeting. The meeting or the sales call is closing, and then you've got prospecting, which is getting the prospects interested enough to get on the call in the first place. And so it's really a two-step process to have a successful agency. So I understand now. I didn't understand when I first started out when it came to being. All I need to get to £100,000 net worth by the end of the year is to get good at sales. Depending on my method of outreach is what you call to get like the prospects on a meeting. Depending on my method of outreach depends on what kind of sales I need to focus on. So if I'm cold calling, I need to learn about SDRs and how to set my tonality and my cadence so I'm speaking at the right pace, and then my tonality is right and my conviction's all in place. All of this is right to get the meetings booked when I'm cold calling, or if I'm doing email outreach, so I'm sending emails to prospects instead of calling them. And that depends on what industry you're in. That depends what niche you've decided with agency, right? All I need to do with email is get good at copywriting. So how can I structure the email in a way that entices people to act on what it is I'm offering inside of the email? So that's two different types of sales. And then you've got the sales call kind of sales. Hold on, Rolls Royce or a Chrysler. I can't even really tell the difference these days. But yeah, and then when you're on a sales call, it's a different kind of sales. That's like being a closer. And so if I can master outreach, and then I can master closing, and then just leverage that. So, hire people and just make that a streamlined system. So first we focus on the sales, and then we focus on systemizing that sales process. And if I can get those two things in place, I make 100,000 this year. And that is me becoming the kind of person and that's just one angle. There's a million ways to make £1 million. There's 100,000 ways to make £100,000, right? And so that's just one angle, one that I can get behind, which I can see for myself. That's one angle of getting to 100,000 this year. And obviously there's loads of different ways. I could start a drop shipping site. I could do agency with 10 other different niches. I could do drop shipping with 50 other different products. And then you've got like growth operators. So maybe I could like base my agency around helping influencers. Whatever it is I decide to do, I realized very quickly on, if I try and do 50 different things and 50 different ways to make 100,000, I'm going to make zero. You try and catch one, what is the analogy? I don't know the smooth way of saying it. If you try and catch two rabbits, they both go away. I know there's a better way of saying it. It's like an official quote. Me being 100,000 this year, I pick one business model and then focus on it. Because focus is another key aspect of being. You can't be 5 things at the same time, right? Fruit and vegetables have it a lot more simple than us. A carrot is a carrot. A carrot's not a carrot, pea, potato, watermelon, right? A carrot is just a carrot. You plant a carrot seed, you know exactly what you're going to get. And so when you plant that idea and you plant that, that vision of who you see yourself to be or who you need to be to get what you want, focus is like one of the key components. Otherwise, you're not going to grow anything because you're going to be trying to do too many different things at the same time, right? So you need to be like a carrot and just be a carrot, just focus. Horse with the blinders on, I mentioned that in one of my other videos. Another aspect as well when it comes to a rich person's mindset is, what I've noticed is, yeah, they have good focus and they have a lot of willpower as well, but in a way where it's like a rich person is going to do whatever it takes. Like they're going to become whoever they need to be to tackle the obstacles in front of them. Poor people don't really do that, or middle class people, average people. What they do is they face an obstacle and they kind of just freak out. They're like, I don't know what to do. This is too much. I'm not doing this. And you know what you'll hear from a lot of middle class and poor people is, I'm not doing that when it comes to diet. I'm not eating that. This is gross. I'm not going to eat that. Versus a rich person, if they know it benefits them and they need to eat it, they're going to eat it, period. And if there's a task what they need to do to become the person who they know they need to be, they're going to do it. They're not going to like, okay, does this fit into my reality? Does this obstacle in front of me, does it fit into my reality? If it don't, I discard it. That's not what rich people do. Rich people see an obstacle and say, okay, how can I get around this? How can I adapt to the obstacle that's in front of me? I need to double down on that trait of just really doing what it takes and blocking out all other things, right? Doubling down on the idea of being again. We could talk about this really quickly, the idea of self-image. And so, a thing about middle class people and poor people is they have a small self-image. They kind of just wake up and survive the day and that's it. And so, what they see for them is somebody just in survival mode. Maybe life is hard. There's a lot going on. I don't know how to cope. Versus a rich person, you have like a big self-image because you can only really achieve in life what you see for yourself. And so if you have a small self-image, you're not really going to get much done. Even if you're put in a situation where you can do more, you're just going to self-sabotage it because you don't resonate with it. And so rich people have a big self-image. They see big things for themselves. So when you look at a Rolls Royce car, or if you look at a Range Rover 2024, or you look at a Tesla, or like anything what you consider nice, whether it even be organic food and expensive food, do you resonate with that? Do you see that for yourself? Or do you think, okay, that's not for me? That's not for me. I don't deserve that. Is that what you see? Rich people in their self-image, they see the bigger things in life. Or maybe, like I said, it's relative. And so if you're thinking, oh, X doesn't do that and he's rich, okay, there's going to be a lot of different examples. I'm just saying this is just a worldview that I currently am adopting. Another thing about poverty, I'm going back, and I know I said I wouldn't add much opinions on this whole idea, but another thing what is like prevalent when it comes to that is closed-mindedness. I said in a previous video, the less you know, the more you think you know, and that's like a lot of poor people's mindset. It's just really ignorant, you know what I mean? Like, it comes down to that idea of doing what it takes. It's like, if something don't fit into their reality, whether that's an idea or an obstacle, whatever it is, if it don't fit in, they kind of just reject it. And so if somebody's eating organic and they're going to be like, oh, organic? You don't need to eat that. You need to eat some blah, blah, blah. Like, you can't eat veg. Like, oh, that is dumb. Oh, I'd rather drink my beer. And then it's like, that's just ignorance, right? Closed-mindedness. Maybe that's just a way of coping. Because if they realize what they're doing is wrong, to realize what you're doing is wrong is painful. And so it's like, I can't face myself like that. Especially if you're like older into your life. Like if you're 40, it's going to be very hard to face yourself in the mirror and be like, oh, crap. Everything I've been doing up to now is wrong, perceivably. It's easier at that point to just double down on the wrong. And so that's what you see in a lot of closed-minded people. It's like they've got these crazy ideas, right? Like just nonsense ideas. These nonsense stories going on in their head, what they're doubling down on, because it's too painful for them to like face the truth. I think a thing about rich people as well is they have good initiative. I don't know what that is. Like some people, like most people, they're just worker bees. Most people do what they're told. They don't have their own opinions. I noticed that with with poor people. Like they don't have any opinions. It's like, what's that about? Poor people just do what they're told. Like you see a lot of these at work. They kind of just heed to authority, and they don't have their own opinions. And whatever's just, they just go with the crowd, go with the flow. And it's like, man, what? Like I've always been like a little bit of a contrarian, maybe naughty when it came to school and stuff. Like I've always just had my own opinion, especially when I was younger. I was really narcissistic, like crazy much so when I was younger. I'm a little bit more tethered now. I think a rich person's mindset as well is this idea of scale. We've kind of transcended past that idea of trading time for money. And it's like if something's not worth my time, because if you're rich, you're going to have a high amount per hour, right? So maybe you're worth £100 per hour if you're richer, £1,000 an hour. And so if anything's not worth my time £1,000 an hour, that's getting outsourced, right? Rich people are leveraged. They have lots of people working for them. They have lots of time going their way. And so they said everybody has 24 hours in a day, but really that's not really true. If you think about it, not everybody does have 24 hours in a day. Some people have a lot more than 24 hours. Like I'm thinking some rich people, like some billionaires, they've got like 1,000 hours in a day when it comes to outputs. Maybe not so much their life, like they're not going to live to 2,000 years old, right? And maybe they will if the right technology comes out and they get to adopt it. But what I'm trying to say is present tense right now, a billionaire's not going to live to 2,000 years old. So in a sense, they do have 24 hours in a day. But in terms of output, so like how much is getting put out in terms of some billionaires and stuff, they have thousands of hours a day, meaning they've got thousands of employees. A rich person has thousands of employees that are working towards a mission that benefits him. And so, you know, poor people would rather work for the safety of it, right? They'd rather work for someone and give all that power to someone, give all their power to someone, as opposed to go out on their own. And I get everybody's not an entrepreneurial personality, and maybe some people are entrepreneurs instead of entrepreneurs. You know, I'm just saying, right? This is just doctrine for my mind, and maybe doctrine for the entrepreneurs out there. This is just, you know, this is just entrepreneurial doctrine. Rich people have lots of hours being pushed towards them, which is pretty cool, right? Leverage. Imagine knowing you barely have to do anything in a day. You make a couple of decisions, 2-3 hours, but then you've had thousands of employees work full shifts in your name. And so even though you're not actually doing that much, you've got so much power and wind and momentum behind you. Scale and leverage, right? It's just that idea of scale. Like that seems pretty appealing to me.